coming up on the Knowledge Industry Podcast.
He said, well, you can't find a studio in London, either to hire and do your own classes or to, someone that actually gives you a job to teach. And he goes, why don't we do it online? We build up a YouTube channel where you do your classes, you're happy, it keeps you busy. And I said, that is the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life.
Do you sell online courses or run live workshops? Do you have expertise that can help people in life or business? Are you even running an online training empire from your kitchen table? Then you're part of the knowledge industry, a fast-growing industry that means that you can learn almost anything, and anyone can create a business around what's between their ears. Welcome to the Knowledge Industry Podcast with your host, Mark Egan.
Hello and welcome. Now, have you ever thought it'd be great to just move somewhere else, live in a completely different city, live the dream lifestyle? Well, today I'm going to be speaking to a couple who have managed to do just that. They've escaped, well, when I say escaped, they've actually left very successful careers and moved back to Italy, where they're both from, to Verona, and created more of a lifestyle business based on their expertise, based on teaching people what they know. So I'm joined by Iacopo di Luigi and Alessia Lugoboni. So in this episode, we'll find out what they did and, most importantly, what you can learn from it. Okay, so Iacopo, Alessia, thank you for joining me. Now I've got so many questions, but first of all, I think it's really important to go back to where you were a few months ago, how life was, what you were doing, and how things have changed. So going back, start with you, Iacopo, a little bit about your background. So what was your expertise? What were you doing? And if I were to bump into you, which I did, maybe a year or a year and a half ago, what would you have been doing?
Hi, Mark. Well, thanks for having us, first of all. And my background was always been in films and TV. I always wanted to be the guy that build the spaceships for movies. So since I think I was 16, I started working on that when it wasn't even a job. But I had this dream. I've always been a dreamer. And I've pretty much worked my way up to work in the best companies I could ever work. Went to New Zealand, Australia, ended up in London, spent 10 years there. And I became a supervisor managing teams. And then kind of realized I was stuck in an office for more than 12 hours a day. And I think something happened at some point telling me, I'm not sure I want to live my life like this. And in the process, I met Alessia and fell in love with her. And she were doing something completely different, and she were doing it very, very, very well.
Yeah. So, just before we come on to Alessia, because Alessia's got a really interesting story as well, we got to do a little bit of name dropping here. So what is the biggest project you worked on, or what would impress people the most about your career in visual effects?
I think the first movie that I worked on that actually won an Oscar was Hugo from Martin Scorsese. And then the second one is Interstellar. I was pretty much in a 3D team. I wasn't supervising at the time. In Interstellar, I was in charge of a small sequence, the layout of the sequence, which is how you put together every shot, all of the 3D assets and all of that kind of stuff. And then I became a supervisor on other projects like Star Wars Beyond. And yeah, I did a little bit of VFX in my life. Yes.
Yeah. So, because the reason I wanted to just mention that is, when we talk about your life before, it's not like, you were an abject failure and, nothing gone right in your life. You needed to change something. Actually, career-wise, you've had a very successful career in that field. And the same would be said for you, Alessia, that, tell us a bit about your background, because, again, you reached sort of the top level in a completely different field.
Completely different, and probably that's why we're still together.
100%.
100%. So I'm a ballet dancer, and I think once a dancer, you're always a dancer, and it kind of never leave you. And I left home to actually pursue this career when I was about 15. So I left home quite early. I had to grow up pretty quickly, and I ended up dancing with Royal New Zealand Ballet for about 7 years. I was soloist there, and I really enjoyed my time, and that's exactly where I met him. Before that, I trained in England. I was at English National Ballet School. So there have been big names and big schools and big companies that I worked with, and absolutely loved it. And then there was time where I think even during a ballet career where I absolutely adored, I had to question myself. And at that time, I kind of met him, and I said, "Okay, we are over in New Zealand. You're telling me that you're stuck in an office. Let's. Where is the place that where you can work and I can work, and we can actually make our life run together?" And so we said, "Okay, let's move to London. Let's go to London. Let's stay there. Let's find something." And I continued my career. I went into the West End. I was doing cabaret with Will Young for about 2 years. Or I also did do Phantom of the Opera. I mean, big names, big shows. I was, again, I did one of the last shows I did was with New English Ballet Theatre, and I was principal there, and I was doing the role of Marie Rambert in the story of Marie Rambert. So lots of beautiful things that kind of filled my heart with joy. But I think because in London I was a freelancer, so I was getting jobs here and jobs there, and in the arts and showbiz, you work for a certain amount of time, and then your contract finishes, and then you've got to find jobs in between. And it was in that time in between where I think I felt the most down. And usually what a dancer or anyone that is in that kind of field tries to teach, or it gives their knowledge to students or anyone that wants to do it. And so for me it was, okay, in between jobs, I'm going to go and teach. I teach anything I can. But the hard part was finding a studio that actually gave me a job or had something available to teach.
And this would be face-to-face teaching in kind of like
face-to-face teaching in the studio with people. That was way before lockdown and anything like that. And I still remember at one point where I found myself crying on I can't remember what bridge in London it was, but I still remember crying out loud and going, "I'm never gonna do this, there is so hard, everything is so hard." So I kind of slapped myself in the face and said, "Okay, get it together. What can we do? What can you do?" And those are the hard times where you think about it, you rethink your career, you rethink about what you can actually give to the world. Because again, no one was giving me a job in between, and plus, this is a big thing, I had all the experience, all the knowledge, all the passion to wanted to give whatever I had, whatever I learned. And no one was giving me a job because I didn't have a piece of paper that said, "Hey, you're an actual teacher." I say, no, hang on, I've got this in me. I've got it. People are learning. I can see the results in people. I can see what they can do and what they can achieve when I say something. And I was in absolutely tears. And then one day I went back home, and he was still working in his visual effects, and I was a wreck. And he said, "Oh my God, my darling, you really need a hobby. You need something else to do. You really need..." I said,
typical man tries to fix everything, doesn't it?
Typical man trying to fix
my bad.
And he said, "Well, you can't find a studio in London, either to hire and do your own classes, or to, someone that actually gives you a job to teach." And he goes, "Why don't we do it online? We build up a YouTube channel where you do your classes, you're happy, it keeps you busy." And I said, "That is the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. How can you possibly teach something online that is so physical and so, you need to be hands-on like ballet?" And so we did.
But was there an element there? Because if you're going around and you're saying, "Pay me to teach this stuff, face to face," was there an element or a little voice in your head saying, "Hey, wait a minute, if I put this stuff out on, say, YouTube or something, then I'm giving away the thing I've spent all these years, worked really hard for, and I'm just giving it away"?
It wasn't so much of I think for me it was about giving. It wasn't about it wasn't about just the money, because there's so much passion, there's so much love in what I do, that I said there is no point, okay? There is no point of me keeping it if I can't actually share it and give it. There is no point of keeping all the knowledge that I've got so secret, that only the elite can actually have it if they pay so much money to actually have it in big schools, or and you need to do an audition to get into those schools, and it's so closed and it's so elite and it's so into boxes. And I said, no, I just want to give you, and it doesn't matter where you come from, what you do, what level you are, if you're a young dancer or an older dancer. I want to give you this, because as I said, there is no point of learning if you can't give this, whatever you've learned, back. And for me was that. I just wanted.
Did it help that you had Iacopo with his sort of technical background? Or did you start it off in a fairly simple way?
We actually started in a very, very simple way, and something, because obviously we didn't have the money to invest in a studio, either to buy it or really rent it. We didn't have the money to invest in equipment, and so we had a few little things, like little cameras and all that. And I said, okay, what can we do with this? What can we do with a 47 square meter apartment in London? Okay.
A lot, apparently.
But what got me is that when we started building this YouTube channel, again, maybe because I wasn't looking beyond my nose, literally, I didn't know who I could reach and what I could give, that I thought I was talking to a specific audience. For me, ballet was always training from when you're younger until you are older and you do your career. So my first thought, I said, I'm sure that people that want to do the career are looking into improving their skills, and what they do are gonna get the beneficial out of what I'm giving, and learn all the tricks that a professional ballerina has to give. That was my thought. Because I wish I had something like this when I was younger. I wish I had all the videos and video cassettes. I'm talking about video cassettes. That's how old I am.
So at the beginning, it wasn't like we're going to build an online business and we're going to change our lives and everything. It was literally kind of, well, I've got nothing to do right now. I want to be doing something, contributing somehow. What could I do? And you had an apartment and a camera, and that was it. That was the beginning. There was no kind of great master plan.
I think
he had a secret. I had a secret. Well, I did my research at the beginning, and I thought, why don't we do an actual ballet school online where we sell something? Because, yeah, videos are great, everything is going to be fantastic, but it needs to be sustainable. So we need to profit somehow. So how do we do it? We started doing research. We had an awful quote from a web company that asked us 20 grand to build a membership site. I didn't know about all of the other software that were around. And then we needed the studio, equipment and lights and all of the things that we didn't have and we couldn't afford. So a friend suggested, guys, you don't even know if you have a market. You don't know if people want this. Why don't you just start with YouTube and see how it goes? And I thought, well, that sounds better. So then my shift focused from, okay, we're going to sell stuff, to, we're going to make millions on advertising on YouTube. So yeah, in 1 year, we're going to have 1 million subscribers. We're going to be famous and everything's going to be easy peasy from that.
So your plan wasn't that good then.
So that was naive enough for us to start. And that's the only thing it took us, just being so naive to start something, because we realized many people don't, and starting is the best way. Also because you never get it wrong. We realized that we were building an audience, even if we didn't have anything to sell. And that was the starting point for Alessia also as well, to understand better who she was teaching to, what kind of problems she was fixing, what kind of joy she was bringing to the world. And I was in the meantime, studying marketing and starting to understand the principles. Okay, but we'll need to sell something at some point. And what can we do?
But that was funny because, again, I think it made us realize, that's why I was saying I wasn't looking beyond my nose. I was just so stuck in front of this tree in front of me, and I couldn't see what the forest behind was. And it was so funny because, as I said before, I thought I was talking to an audience, a young audience, yeah. So all these beautiful young dancers that wanted to do the profession, and little by little, I realized that I actually got my audience completely wrong, okay? So I had women, around my age and older, so around 30, 25, 30 and older, up until 50, 60, that wanted to go back to ballet. And they had this childhood dream, unfulfilled childhood dream, that wanted to go back and do ballet and really learn it, because maybe they never had the possibility to do it in their youth. And I went, wow, I never thought of that. And the other thing was something that we take so much for granted. We always lived in cities that offered everything. So London was one of those. It offers classes, it offers ballet classes, you can drop it in, you can do it. But I never thought, some people never had a ballet studio nearby, or that offered ballet classes, or that offered anything, or they're maybe in a city that is in the middle of nowhere and it takes them about an hour to drive to the nearest, living site that there is something to offer.
Or maybe they're even afraid to step into a ballet class because of all the
experience that they had before, because, as I said, it was for the elite and anyone that had the right body and had the right, even the money to invest, to say, hey, my parents could never afford this. So I kind of gave up and decided to do something else in life. But they always had this thing in their mind and in their heart that they wanted to do. And I went, wow, I never thought of that. And so I think the moment that you start something, it kind of puts you in front of different situations that for you might have taken for granted for such a long time. And then you realize, actually, it's right there, it's right in front of me. So I kind of shifted my focus into the young dancers that already followed, they've got their schools and everything, and they've got their teachers, into helping men and women, because at the end of the day, we've got both, to fulfill this childhood dream that they never actually done, and get fit, feel happy, and they are the best students I've ever had, because they want to be there. They want to do it for themselves, and they're eager to learn and to suffer with my exercises and get flexible and do anything that they haven't done in life. And that made me realize that not only it helps them with their body and shaping their body and getting them strong, but it gets them strong in their mind and gets them discipline in their mind, and it helps them with life.
So once you figured out, okay, this is my audience, and actually they're not necessarily coming for the reasons I thought they were coming, then, how does that change your direction? Because originally, we've got this plan that you're going to do some YouTube videos and make millions in advertising. Now it turns out your audience is different than you're expecting. They want different things. So how did that realization lead to kind of what you've ended up doing since then?
I guess it's from, well, first of all, the analytics that showed us the age of the people following the channel, and then the overwhelming stream of comments that were all mentioning, oh, thank you for this gift to my life. I did ballet when I was young, but then my family was against it, or maybe I was afraid to do it in a real studio, and I can do it with you. All of these messages started building up, and because we're slow, we took a little bit of time to sort of fit all of the pieces of the puzzle together and realize, actually, this is our audience. This is the people that you can help the most. And also, you said it yourself, you wanna give your passion and your knowledge to people that are not within the elite sort of area. So that's even better. And that also allow, I think, you to craft your mission, because it is funny, because I'm one of those that
I always got told you'll never be a ballet dancer. You don't have the physique for it. Yeah, you might be teeny, you might be cute, but you've got scoliosis. You've got one leg that is longer than the other. And you don't have the legs and the feet to actually have those beautiful shapes that a ballerina needs to have. But every time that someone said you can't do something, I wanted to prove them wrong. So it started with I needed to prove other people that they were wrong and that I could do it. And then I went, actually, you're proving yourself that you can do something. So that kind of shifted my mindset. And so anytime that someone comes to me and says, I'm too old, or I don't have the body, or I'm a bit on the chunkier side, or I'm too skinny, I don't have this and I don't have that, I'm like, no. I'm gonna prove you, and you can prove yourself that it doesn't matter what body and what you look like, you can still do ballet. Because ballet, for me, was a way to learn, again, the discipline, the mindset, the grit, to do something, not only in ballet, but in life. And that's why every time we did something, I said, don't tell me I can't do something, because there is no chance I'm going to stop in front of that. So that has crafted my mission, and has crafted my mission with the audience and with my lazy dancers, because they are now part of the group. They are the lazy dancers.
Because the little bit of the jigsaw that we probably need to speak about is you were doing the YouTube videos. What was the product? What online course? You mentioned membership. What were you selling? And kind of how many people were you getting signed up? So in really practical terms, how did you turn what you were talking about as a hobby into a business? What was the products you were selling? How many people were you getting in there?
Bear with. The funny thing is, when I said you need to know who you're talking to and who your audience is, they will tell you exactly what they want. They will tell you exactly what they wanted at that point. And they said, give me something and I want to buy it, and I want to buy it now. And we didn't have anything at that time. And so we had the great idea to put together a membership where I could give more of my time, more of my ballet classes, and exclusive to the membership, and plans and workout plans and anything that was structured for them to follow a path into this membership. But it's funny because we didn't even think about, so it was about a year into the YouTube channel, okay? A year into the YouTube channel, working our butts off like never before. And then people started going, I want to buy from you. Give me more.
It's crazy.
Give me more. And we looked at each other and said, I think we need to do something more, but we don't have the time. How do we do this?
But when you say more, because you would think that hey, you're getting stuff for free on YouTube. And this is a very common question people ask. How does anybody make money with things like online courses when somebody can just go to YouTube and everything's there? Like, what's your sort of theory on that?
Okay, what I figured is that you can have as much free content online and giving so much value online like never before. But what I figured that people don't know what to do and how to do it is how to take one step after the other. They don't know the progression. They don't know, for example, on YouTube, you might have a library full of videos. It's like walking into an actual library and have bookshelves and bookshelves and bookshelves full of books with so much good stuff. And you either know where to start, and you've got someone to tell you, hey, you gotta go from that book to that book, and then you've got a path, or you're intelligent enough to figure it out by yourself. But most of the people that I know are either lazy, they don't have the time, they don't want to figure it out by themselves, and they want you to say, tell me what I need to do. Tell me what to do and I'll do it. And I'll do exactly what you say from A to Z.
Yeah, here's an example. This is what I also teach in the course I'm putting together. It's a no-brainer. You want to put as much as possible for free online, because you need the attention. You need people to know, like, and trust you. And the only way you do it, I mean, the best way to me is YouTube, because YouTube is, your post never goes away, it doesn't disappear in a feed. And you can just give as much as possible. But for example, I was looking for some workout I could do at home for myself. And I was looking around and I found this guy, and he had 1 million videos. So I could just take whatever video, put it together, do my workout. Am I sure I'm doing it right? No, because I'm not a personal trainer. Do I know what to eat while doing these exercises? Do I know how many times do I need to do all of this? Do I know the structure? No. But the brilliant thing that you could do after all of that is just having a nice call to action in one of those videos, actually in all of the videos, where you say, hey, do you want a structured workout plan? If you like my method, click on this button and buy it. Of course, if I like what you say online and you help me achieve some kind of one-off results in advance that makes me trust you, I'm going to buy everything you have, because now you got my attention, right? And that is the trick. It sounds simple, but the way you deliver this is the key to actually make it profitable online. And don't worry about holding anything back, because people will always think that you've got more on the back end that you're holding up, which is, it might not be true. You might just be giving everything out, but in a structured program, they will pay attention. Well, they will pay you, first of all, and therefore pay attention. And it's a chance for you to have more committed people and lead them through a specific path with tasks, with assessments and rewards and all the things you want, but that you cannot do on YouTube or on social media, because that would be counterproductive. But if you don't offer anything for sale, I think you are actually making them a disservice for this specific reason. Because people, if you don't sell them something, they will go somewhere else and spend money with somebody else, because the problem is still there. The wanting to achieve something is still there. And that is what I would suggest anyone wanting to go online, because it's great.
Coming up on the Knowledge Industry Podcast.
Because at this point, you are the bottleneck of the whole thing. And if you're not 100% on lazy dance tips, there is no way we can progress and we can actually break that glass ceiling.
Don't forget, if you've got any questions, comments or suggestions, join the Knowledge Industry group on Facebook. If you want to learn more about using video to educate, connect and build rapport with your audience, go to markeganvideo.com. Iacopo, you posted on social media, I saw a picture of you waiting for the tube train at Canary Wharf in London. And that's how your life was, commuting in. But you're not in London anymore. So explain where you are and how come you're there now.
We've been thinking about moving somewhere else for probably 3 years now, because the thing that I always hated was commute. When I was young, I was going to school, I had to go to the train station, take a train, half-an-hour train, go to the school, which was a tragedy for me. So I always hated commute, and London was just the amplifier of all of that. Even though it's a great city, it's very big, so you've got to take the tube every time, especially if you need to go to work every morning. So that for me was a nightmare. It became a nightmare after a while, because at the beginning I was more focused on my career, and that was okay with me because I was going somewhere. But then when the career sort of dissipated in my heart, I only had the commute to deal with, and I didn't like that. And I asked Alessia a million times, if you had if money wasn't a problem, if you could work from anywhere, where would we live? And we started thinking, and we went to Florida, catching up with some friends because we loved the hot weather. We loved it, but it's not that easy to get into the US. So we said maybe not.
And also we didn't want to do another big overseas move,
yeah.
Because we did quite a few from Italy to New Zealand, and then it was always, no, I said no, I'm not going to do. I'm not.
That's
doing
out
that.
of the question. We went to Vancouver, beautiful city, but is it cold in winter? Yeah, so it's a no. So
Portugal was the other one.
We
so
went
let's
to
go
Portugal
to
for 2 weeks house hunting, and then weather was amazing. but there was something that wasn't right for us.
It's a gut feeling. Whenever you've moved to a place, it has to feel home. There is a gut feeling that tells you yes or no. And it's interesting.
And then we realized that we were looking for the Italian lifestyle everywhere apart from Italy. And that's when it came to us. Why don't we go back to Italy? And I always loved Verona, which is the city that I know because Alessia was born here. And every time I visit, I find myself looking at the buildings and inside the windows to look at the ceilings because they're all painted. And I love that. It makes me feel safe somehow. Maybe it's because I was born in Florence, but I love every time I go out. And it's Mediterranean weather, so that fits the template. We checked the prices on the houses and they were less than half the prices of London. And we said, actually, if we move to Italy, we can save money having a bigger place and we can go out, enjoy the best food in the world. And it sounds like a no-brainer to me. What do you think? So we decided to take a chance, and we've been here for how long now? 3 months.
But to do that, you presumably, you had a career, visual effects that you'd built up over years. Were you still planning to carry that on, or was it okay? We're switching completely to online teaching. We're going all in on this particular business, cutting ties, starting again. But because it's location independent, we can just pick our location and we choose Verona.
I think I've worked on Lazy Dancer Tips and in visual effects for about 3.5 years, 4 years. So I pretty much had 2 jobs for that amount of time. And I've been working weekends, late afternoons, nights to make this thing take off. And last year, 2020, on 13th of February, I left my job with the idea of cutting completely from the VFX industry, not because I didn't like it, it's because of my stress levels. I just couldn't give as much to an industry that always asks for more. So we needed to figure it out. We need to figure out a different way. We didn't know any better at that point.
But I think I kind of gave him an ultimatum as well, because as he was saying before, he was working nights and afternoons and weekends, and pretty much when we started the YouTube channel without at this point without selling anything, so I said, darling, we don't have a life anymore. Okay, I understand completely, we don't have a life. And I think it was him he wanted to support me and us together and actually living a good life with a job that could support us, but keep on going with this my hobby on a side. It wasn't a hobby anymore. So it wasn't a hobby anymore. And so we started seeing the results after we were working on it. We put together the membership. We had people in the membership. Money was coming in, and he was still working 2 jobs. And I said at one point, I said, okay, when are you going to let go? Because at this point, you are the bottleneck of the whole thing. And if you're not 100% on Lazy Dance Tips, there is no way we can progress and we can actually break that glass ceiling. And so I think at one point when we figured that Lazy Dancer Tips and his job were making the exact same amount of money, I said, okay, it's time for you to go.
Actually more.
I said,
because I wanted to be sure.
I wanted to be sure, especially when you're in London, you never know. London is a very expensive city. And so these struggles and the work that we put into it to actually get to that level, it was extreme. It was hard, both on our relationship and our lives. And as I said, we didn't have a life outside. So he was working. And I remember when in the mornings, he was leaving to go to work. He would set the cameras up. So I would record by myself at home all the videos. And then he would come back from work at like 8 o'clock at night. I would prepare a dinner. And then he was eating in front of the computer while he was editing the videos. And
Good old times.
good old times. I still remember those. And we were so tired, but I said, okay, at one point, you need to let go. We need to kind of do this. We need to jump. We need to do this jump and really go for it. And then at that point, you know that we are going to move forward.
In general terms, you've managed to kind of, you say, quit your normal work, move to the place that you want to live a lifestyle, which we'll talk about briefly in a moment. But what would be your main advice for somebody who has some kind of expertise, has heard that, you know, actually you could teach this online, it is possible? Because sometimes I think people look at, you know, some big names in the online spaces and think, well, this isn't possible for little old me with maybe my expertise, or in my niche, it's not possible. What would be your main advice for somebody who has some expertise and wants to kind of do what you've done?
I think the best way is realizing that when the thought comes in, I don't think is for me, comes in, it's a self-limiting belief. This is, I can guarantee you that. But if you want a confirmation, I would suggest anybody to do some marketing research before doing anything, because you don't want to start building something for like a year and then going out in the world and have zero sales or no interaction whatsoever. So the first thing I would do is what we did at the beginning. The question arises, is anybody else doing ballet online? Let's have a look.
But also is, for me, was don't take for granted some skills that you've got in you, that you've learned, and they come easy to you. Because most of the time, the big thing that comes to mind is, but I'm sure anyone can do it. I'm sure everyone knows how to do something. I'm sure everyone knows how, I don't know, to sew a dress. No, you're taking that for granted because you can do it. You're good at it. It's your special skill, is your superpower, and it might be your superpower to actually be able to teach anyone how to grab a piece of cloth and make it into the most amazing dress ever. You know, I can't do that. I don't have that skill, but some people take that for granted. And so what is for granted, you know, for you, don't assume that other people can do it as well. So look into that.
And also another important thing is, because I receive many messages from people asking me, I wanna do this online thing. Was thinking of a blog where I just go around, make videos, and interview people. Yeah, that sounds great. That's definitely your passion, but passion doesn't really mean that it's gonna be a business. You've got to do the research to see if there's a market for it. So this is so crucial. You've got to understand that if there is a need that you can fill with your not just passion, but with your skills, expertise, knowledge, and wisdom, then you can start doing something with it. If you just want to get out making videos because it's your passion, do it. But that doesn't mean it could become a business, because you need to know first if there is a market, if people want it. And there are many ways to test the market before creating any product. But yeah, that would be the first thing I would do. Marketing research.
And once you've done the marketing research, what would you say if there was kind of one method that you said, okay, you've got a product, you've got a course, you need to get people there to buy it. What would be the one sort of tip or method you would suggest?
I would start creating an audience somewhere. Just pick one social media. It doesn't have to be YouTube, even though I prefer YouTube. Just get some audience, get some interaction, because you need data, you need feedback. And once you get some feedback, you know what people want, you can actually ask them. I would also have an opt-in page right away, because you need to build your list. An opt-in page is pretty much a page where you collect a name and email address so that you can nurture these people that want more of you. And when you've got about 100 people, which is very doable in a short amount of time, you can start having a conversation with them and see where they're coming from, why they're starting following you, and they will tell you what the next step would be for them. And then it will make your gears start spinning in your head, and then you can start thinking about your first paid price product, which doesn't have to be $1,000 product if you're not comfortable with that yet. You can have a mini course that you can sell for $97. and you've got 100 people in your list. You can sell it, and they will be happy. You will be happy because you see money coming in, and that will make you think about your next product, which can be a higher ticket one. But as long as you care about the people that you want to serve, because if you're only in for the money, I guarantee you this is not going to work.
That's definitely a message I think you've put across strongly is, serve, then figure out what people want and give them what they want, as opposed to what a lot of people will do is they'll kind of have an idea of what the money they want to make and then try and kind of shove a product out there and hope somebody buys. Just looking at the big picture now, because we're almost out of time, with things like the lockdowns, a lot of people have moved to teaching online and also learning online. So as far as kind of the whole industry goes, where do you see this going? As far as right now, you mentioned, Alessia, that in certain industries, you need a piece of paper and a certification to teach something, whereas in the online space, if you know it, you can teach it. Where do you see this whole industry going over the next few years?
Can I say something? I think finally, again, for places like the ballet world, has always been taboo of saying you can't teach something like this so physical online. And I think the lockdown and the pandemic has brought a lot of good, especially given the possibility to say, hey, online works. Online can be done. Online is now accepted. Okay, because when I started, I had a lot of people going against me and saying, why are you doing this online? It's the most stupidest idea. And I had that belief as well. Now, this pandemic has opened up the world of online, and anyone can teach anything. I think the most important thing is I personally wouldn't feel comfortable teaching something that I don't know and just making it up from nowhere. Again, I would niche down. I would really find what my superpower is, and I would really find what I'm good at, and I know it works, okay? You don't need a piece of paper, but what you need to give to your audience is the results. Is what you're teaching and what you're doing and what you are giving actually bringing results to people? Because that could be finally a change in society that says, oh, you're only a good teacher if you've got a piece of paper. And there might be beautiful and wonderful teachers out there that don't have a piece of paper, but they've got the knowledge and the experience to actually make you go from zero to a hero in no time with more passion than those ones that have a piece of paper. Do you know what I mean? So that is my yes, it's a big world. Yes, you've got to elbow yourself through it, because you need to prove that you can give these results and you can actually offer these results to people. But finally, it gives the possibilities to people like me that have been put on aside for a long time to actually prove themselves and prove others that yes, results can be made and can be done in a different way than has been done up till now. So we are not stuck into what school says or what a job says or what your boss says. You can kind of shift and go around and open up people's minds and open up different roads and paths.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree. I think one of the things that Iacopo mentioned about having to learn a new skill all the time, I think that's the other factor, is that people now, even in their normal careers, they're constantly having to learn new skills. And they're often kind of a very specific thing. I need to get from there to there or be able to just do this thing. And traditional education tends to be a lot slower, a lot more cumbersome. Often you have a course that runs for a long period of time. I think that's the other role that this can have, is that just, people need to learn things much more regularly, and online learning is much more nimble and flexible. And again, doesn't matter where you are, whether you're in a big city or not, you're able to do that. So let's just finish up by making everybody jealous. So now you've moved away from London and you're in Verona. And I know, there's lockdowns, so it's probably not completely life as normal. But what is the typical day that you can live if you have an online business where you've got people who love what you're doing, they're learning, and it's sustainable. So what's your normal day looking like?
Okay, well, we wake up, we have coffee, we chat a little bit, and we do our workouts. I do a workout like 5 days a week. Alessia does her yoga / ballet / whatever you want to kill yourself with. And shower, and then we get to work.
Sometimes we have, chats with people like you, Mark, and
Like today.
So I'm ruining your
inspiring
cat.
others.
You should be relaxing, enjoying yourself. You're speaking to me, eh?
It is actually relaxing. It's nice because for me, it's inspiring others to say, do it.
It is. Yeah.
And then we go out for lunch whenever it's possible. At the moment here in Verona, it is possible. So we go out for lunch, we sit out for lunch, then we come back, we work for a few more hours, and then we have our aperitif around 5-6 o'clock in the afternoon.
I have to say this week, we didn't really feel like working as hard as usual. So we took longer breaks. The sun was shining outside, so we had
went for
more
walks.
walks. And that for me, you appreciate that 10 times more when you come from a life of working 9 to 5 or 9 to
Whatever.
5 of the other day. When you can say, yeah, let's go out for a walk. Or maybe she sends me a message because she's out and say, shall we have lunch in the city center? Sure, I'm coming. I'll be there in 10. That makes me so much more happy than anything in the world, because that's what I wanted. And when you're there sitting in the sun, enjoying your glass of whatever you want to drink, I feel blessed. And it doesn't really matter from now on how much money we make, because that's for me the goal, the dream is. And I know that our work is helping people as well. I mean, what else would you want?
So it's a kind of a win-win-win, isn't it? Because you are kind of living the lifestyle you want. You're sharing the things you're passionate about, and people are learning from you and they're benefiting. So it's kind of, hey, what's not to love? So we're going to wrap it up there. But I think there'll be a lot of people thinking, I want to learn more, whether it's dancing or whether it's the online business side of things. So where should they go? How can people follow up and find out more about what you do?
We've got a website, social media everywhere, Lazy Dancer Tips.
Our big one is obviously YouTube. We've got Lazy Dancer Tips.
And well, if you're interested on the business side of what we do, I'm starting, I don't have much stuff around, but you can find me on Facebook and Instagram with my name and surname, Iacopo di Luigi, and you'll find me.
Brilliant. Well, I think what's great about your story, the reason I really wanted to talk to you was, first, I've seen a bit of your journey because we've, crossed paths at various events. But what you've done without being, some of the practices we see online with people, the way they market, you've done it all sort of really nicely, really authentically. The stuff you produce is good. I mean, if you haven't, go across to YouTube straight away, you can see what we're talking about. And it's worked. So I think it's a really inspirational example of how you can take something you're good at, fulfill yourself, help other people, and make it sustainable, which is a great combination. So I wish you the best of luck. And if I do manage to get to Verona at some point after lockdowns, you got to promise to take me out and show me the city. Is that a deal?
Of course.
Deal.
I won't ask you to teach me to dance because, hey, some things are impossible. Okay. But thank you for your time and best of luck. And hopefully we'll see each other in the flesh some point soon.
Thank you, Mark.
I wish that. Thank you so much and have a great day. Thanks again.
Don't forget to join the Knowledge Industry group on Facebook. If you've enjoyed this podcast, please leave us a good review. And if you want to connect, head to markeganvideo.com.